Marvel doesn't have anything to worry about. Like, and I don't think that it should be seen as a competition.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you can go and see both movies. You got $14, go see both movies. Like, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that I think that of these two movies, I feel that Civil War pulled off the elements better in terms of like how they had a lot of plot threads kind of going on simultaneously in the first half, and how everything converges by the end. I thought they really tied it all together really well. Because, I felt like in Batman vs. Superman, there was a lot of stuff going on that felt disjointed. It didn't feel connected. And it just started to feel like a mess there. And another thing that I liked, and this is something I had mentioned before in our own conversations, you and me, Steven, about how I would have liked it if in Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman, if there was more of a shift in tone, because they're both very tonally the same. And it's like, it would have been better if Man of Steel was a bit more bright, or not as dark and grim as it felt, and depressing as it felt, and like have the final battle. Yeah, there's a lot of destruction going on, but make it like exciting and fun, and be like, oh yay, Superman did it in the end. But even after Man of Steel, everyone was like, that whole city was just freaking trash. Like everything, they're like making out, and there's just rubble, and it's just like everyone could see like this was so much destruction. It was absurd. But when you look at how people saw the Avengers and Age of Ultron, it's like there was a lot of destruction, but you were like, yay, they're saving people. All right. And then Civil War, it's like, yeah, well, you know what? It wasn't that cool for all those people that were getting crushed by the rubble. You see people going like, oh, no. And so it was just like, it was such a shift. And you go like, whoa, yeah, I guess, yeah, that's true. There was a lot of destruction. And you see it in a different light. And Man of Steel didn't really do that, because it's like you go from Man of Steel to Batman vs. Superman. It's like they show it from the people's angle. You see, Bruce Wayne's like, no, everything's crumbling. People are dying. The guy's like, my legs. And it's like, well, yeah, we figured this was going on because we kind of saw some of it already in Man of Steel, like with Perry White and those other guys. And they're like, oh, we're stuck in the rubble. We're going to die. And so it's just kind of like, that was one of those elements that I was thinking like, well, if they should have had more of a shift, so that we can look at it one way and then be presented with a new way of thinking about it. And and then the other element was just that in Civil War, I feel there's actually a conflict of I don't want to say morals, but of viewpoints. Yeah. And I feel like Batman vs. Superman, there wasn't really conflicting viewpoints. It was like Superman was like, I don't like what you're doing. Batman's like, well, I don't like what you're doing.
It was kind of like it could have been that way, but it ended up kind of not being that, because Lex Luthor, kind of had this plan, but it didn't come to fruition, and he's like, screw it, Doomsday.
But back to Civil War and that. Yeah. I would say that well, the thing was that with Batman vs. Superman, like you said, and with Man of Steel, is that those were kind of, a couple of movies we were aware of that. They, definitely made that, present, and they definitely brought that as a big elephant in the room about that. Yep. And I was self-aware of that, and it's nice to know. And it's nice to know that Marvel's also being aware of all the destruction that was in their movies as well. For example, you know how Marvel has inspired DC to do a cinematic universe, and I think in a way Marvel's being inspired by DC to kind of have more of a shift their tone a little bit to more serious, like, oh yeah, look at all this destruction. Because I feel like the first movie to actually really bring this to light is not really a superhero movie or comic book movie, is Hancock. Because remember, every time you destroy a lot of stuff, people were like, you destroyed that, and he like doesn't like get out of the way of the train just cause a gigantic train wreck.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't remember any other superhero before that actually brought that to light.
And it was seen similarly as very negative by a lot of people to Man of Steel in a lot of ways. That's an interesting comparison.
Well, in film.
Yeah.
Because in the Civil War comic, the thing that starts it all, like that starts the conflict, was the fact that like these younger heroes that were part of like a reality TV show, like, oh yeah, we going to stop guys, and then one of them just like blows up and kills a shit ton of kids at a school, and it was just like, holy shit, these people need to be put in check. And so it was kind of like looking at the destruction that's caused.
There was definitely a difference, I agree.
But yeah, in film, it's definitely a concept that's becoming more present.
Okay. All right. So, what would you give this movie, Steven?
Well, I've been thinking about it for a while, and there were definitely things I liked and disliked about it. I tend to be more pro DC in terms of the dark taste. But that being said, Marvel did in this really show some grit in relationship between Iron Man and the government versus Steve Rogers, Bucky, and people who disagree with being mandated. And they really pulled it off pretty well in this, and they concluded it in such a manner that will allow for them to expand onto the future. I'm not going to say exactly what, but that also left it as a kind of, even if not everything you wanted came out in this one, just like in other comics, it could come to fruition later. Yeah. And I really liked that and respected that. I thought that Spider-Man stole the show, and Ant-Man was a close second, and T'Challa was pretty good. Who? T'Challa, Black Panther.
Oh, Black Panther.
Yeah, that's his real name.
Okay.
And so, all things said, I would give this, personally, about an 84%. I think that's about fair.
Okay. How about you, Brian?
Kind of going from what Steven said about how Marvel and DC do things a lot differently. DC's a lot more dark, and Marvel's a lot more funny and has a lot more jokes and everything. So, it'd be really hard to compare the two of them, especially when I gave my last review for Batman v Superman, like a 90, I think I said it was.
Right.
But I got to give this one 4.5 stars out of 5. I really think that they did a lot with as many characters that they have and gave them as much screen time to each character. And I went into this movie hoping to see Spider-Man, and that's exactly what we got, and I enjoyed what I had. And yeah, that's probably what I would give it, is 4.5 stars out of 5.
How about you, Josh? Sorry, I just had brain fart there.
Well, I really enjoyed this movie. Excuse me. I felt it did a lot of things that I didn't feel the DC universe really did as well as they could have done. And yeah, Marvel movies are fun. Like, that's what they go for, and the DC universe movies are going for something different, and that's fine. Like, they don't need to be the same. But one of the things I liked about Civil War was, like, it has the moments where it gets dark and it gets gritty. I felt like it was dark and gritty not because it's just like moody atmosphere or violent, which is what I kind of got from the DC movies. It became dark because of the emotional relationships between these characters that we've had all this time to see connect, and to see that all just kind of fracture. And there's just a scene like near the end between Iron Man and Captain America where it's just like, holy crap, like this friendship this is gone, and they're just going at it, and it was just like, and yeah, the violence was a part of it. It was such an emotional scene.
You could hear a pin drop in the audience.
Yeah, like everyone was just like, oh my gosh, this is intense. It was intense. And it's because of those emotional connections. Spider-Man was fantastic. I can't wait for his movie. Black Panther was really cool, and I can't wait to see more of him, see more, development of him and his world. And then like the airport fight scene was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there were like several. There were a lot of really good action sequences like throughout. It was just there was a lot of cool action. There's a lot of funny little moments that it's not like they take away from anything. It keeps it fun. That's what they'd like to do. I am kind of torn on the score that I want to give it because I don't think it's a perfect movie. I like it a lot. I don't think it's perfect. I think I would give it a 4 out of 5, just because I think there is still room for improvement, and I really have to think about it more whether or not I think I like this one more than Winter Soldier. Because Winter Soldier, I think one of the things that it has over Civil War is just the fact that it's a lot tighter of a story.
That's true.
It doesn't have as many elements. Like Civil War is like a juggling act. This is an Avengers movie.
Yeah.
It's not a Captain America movie solely. It is definitely an Avengers movie. More so, I think, maybe than Age of Ultron a little bit. Just in terms of like what we got out of it in terms of like the relationships between everyone. But yeah, it was really good. There's room for improvement. So 4 out of 5.
Okay. Personally, I think that, with Marvel and DC, I mean, you can just be like me, just like both. I mean, it's not like a marriage where you have to, just like one and hate the other.
Right.
But
or divorce, rather. That's.
Yeah. But the thing is that I really did enjoy this one. It was a fun time. I really enjoyed it a lot. I did like a lot of the new characters. I thought it was awesome seeing, Spider-Man, come on the screen for, a third time. Now, is it? But it was pretty cool how they had him in this one. I really liked Tom Holland. Looking forward to seeing, next one. I also really liked how they introduced Black Panther in this one. And also I liked how they have other characters as well. They didn't feel really that shoehorned in. They felt kind of a little bit slightly more natural. Maybe Ant-Man was kind of maybe shoehorned in a little bit, but I really like they did a great job with him as well.
Yeah.
And it was pretty good. I really did like how they did on the emotions. And yeah, it's kind of like Batman vs. Superman in a way. But it's nice to see how these two studios are kind of, kind of rivals, but in a way they're kind of also inspiring each other and that sort of thing.
And doing their own thing.
Yeah. The problems I had with this one were some of the effects maybe looked kind of, fake at times, but they were brief. The other was the fact that some of the villains maybe not had as much screen time as I thought they were going to have. And then finally is, I think even all of us agreed on this, we kind of forgot to talk about it. But every time they would show text of where the location is and script writing, it's called a super. It pretty much filled up the entire screen. It was not really subtle. It's like England, firm England, and so on and so forth. And so overall, I would give Captain America: Civil War 3 stars out of 4.
Yeah, I really respect all that I've heard in this vehicle. That's very steamy about it.
Yeah, more steamy than Jack Dawson and Rose from Titanic.
Ooh, yes.
Someone put a handprint to make that subtle.
Yeah. It was a cry for help. It was actually a assault that was taking place in that car. She was going, help, help!
Wow, that movie just got real dark. Jack dies in the end. Spoiler. And that was really dark.
I've been that for almost 20 years now.
Good gosh, yeah.
So anyway, this is Tyler from Anchor Reviews.
Steven from Steven Lawson Studios.
Brian.
Josh from Josh's Mouth.
And we hope you enjoyed this episode of Unscripted. I know this is probably one of the longest ones we've done, but I really did like we got to, share our thoughts on that. So we're looking forward to doing more in the future, and hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said again, please like and subscribe.